What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy, the Goose, and the Goose is loose, baby. And I am here with my WandaVision episode 6 review. So this episode had a lot to live up to after last week's shocking ending. Um, I think when the episode first ended, I've had the strong feeling that it was a filler episode, but after letting it sink in, it's kind of a filler episode, but they still get a lot in there. No questions really get answered, but more do get asked. So I'm gonna go through my notes. I'm gonna go pretty thoroughly through them because I don't think I'm gonna have as many wild theories at the end as I did last week. Because yeah, I don't blame them for this week being a little slower because how could you match last week? And this week wasn't a slow episode. It moved fast as hell. It just wasn't as many like shock and awe moments. All right, but so they showed us Aaron Taylor Johnson, the original Quicksilver, in the recap of the episode. Then they did like the '90s opening. I don't have a lot of '90s sitcom knowledge, but I assume that was Malcolm in the Middle, and I assume Malcolm in the Middle was also like what the kids were doing when it was Billy who was breaking the fourth wall. I think that's a Malcolm in the Middle thing. Um, Wanda says she's a Sokovian fortune teller. Um, and if you don't know, everybody wearing the costumes, those are their comic book accurate costumes. Quicksilver, Vision, and Wanda. That's why that's funny. Um, let's see. They have their first like moment of sharing a memory, and Wanda says she remembers it a little differently. And a little Easter egg I found. I think Pietro was dressed up as Nick Fury because Nick Fury, before Sam Jackson started playing him in the cinematic universe, I think was a white guy. Um, like I think John Hamm was somebody who looked like the original Nick Fury, but he had the eye patch. It's probably nothing, but it was a funny Easter egg. But Wanda notices their memory is different, so it's almost like they're trying to make you think this is a different person than Pietro. So then Vision has a plan. He's gonna deceive Wanda. So he comes down and he's like, so the first thing he says is, I didn't have any other clothes in my closet. Kind of saying that I don't have a lot of choice in all of this. And then he puts his smile back on and he starts acting again. But then he has this plan and he tells Wanda he's gonna go on the neighborhood watch. And he acts like he just made the plans and like she's like, why didn't you tell me? And she actually says, that's not what you're supposed to do. And he's like, what? And it's almost like a reverse psychology thing, like he's trying to make her admit what's really happening. And this episode really made me think this is all Wanda, and this is all really happening in the way it appears to be. I'll talk about that more at the end, but um so Wanda is clearly not happy when Vision leaves. Um and then we cut back out to the immediate aftermath of Wanda breaking out of the hex. And Hayward goes, God, if you thought he was a villain before, if you didn't think he was a villain, he is now. Holy hell. He immediately goes after Monica and is like, yeah, I know you've been advocating for enhanced people this entire time because of your relationship with Carol Danvers. So he plays that, and then he drops a bomb. I'm shocked Monica didn't dive across the table and choke the dude because he was like, maybe it's good you weren't here when your mom died because you're too soft for this business. And he gets Jimmy, Darcy, and Monica all kicked out of the facility. Something's going on with him. He might be a Skrull. He might be Mephisto. He he's something evil. I can guarantee that. And then Jimmy Woo and Monica kick some sword agent ass. Um, And we go back to Westview now, and there's children. After the thing of where are the children in this town last week, it kind of shows you how Wanda is correcting as she goes again. Because now there are children. Somebody questioned it, and now children exist. Um, and Quicksilver yells as the kids go out to trick or treat. He yells, "Unleash hell, demon spawn," to the kids, Tommy and Billy. I mentioned last week in the comics, the way Tommy and Billy are born, Mephisto basically allows Wanda to create the kids by using a piece of his own soul. So it's almost like the kids are his own Horcrux. And I'm kind of starting to get the idea going that Evan Peters might be Mephisto, y'all. That might really be happening. And that moment really stuck out for me. Um and then oh yeah, so Wanda tests Pietro and asks him a very specific question, and he calls her out on it, which is something Pietro just does. He kind of breaks the wall of the illusion with her pretty frequently, and he says, "Oh, you're testing me. I get it. I look different." And she's like, "Why do you look different?" And he's like, "I don't know. I would if I had found my own personal Shangri-La, I would." What did he say? He said, "I wouldn't want to be reminded of the past either," is what he said. So it's almost like he's implying she changed it just because seeing her real brother would be too intense, maybe? Um, but, let's see. So then, Wanda has a moment with Herb, and it's kind of strange where Pietro is running around with the kids at super speed, and Herb is like reporting it. He's like, "Oh, all the candy has been stolen. Oh, all of this is happening," but it's happening like a second beforehand. Like the rhythm was off. Like Herb was in front of his cue, kind of going along with the TV show thing. Um, and then Wanda finds out Vision is not on neighborhood watch duty because Herb says, "No, Vision's not on duty," and she's like, "Oh." And then he's like, "Why? Did you need something? Do you need something changed?" And Wanda says, "No." And he's like, "Oh, okay, peace then." So again, it's like they're catering to it's the what I said about the queen bee theory. I shared it on my Twitter. She's the queen bee. They're all serving her. And it's becoming more and more clear. And I think after the end of the episode, it's going to get a little wild. Um, let me see. So then we cut to Vision walking around, and he sees the woman that's glitched. And she's like stuck in the same motion, and she rolls the Denzel tear, the singular tear. And what is next? Then the commercial of the week comes, and it's Yo Magic Yogurt. A shark goes up to a kid who's starving on an island with a thing of yogurt and says, like, "Here, this will save you." And the kid can't open it. And he can't open it, and he dies. And the catchphrase was, "Yo Magic, the snack for survivors." So, it's late, y'all. That's not jumping to me immediately what that means. Maybe the way the Mind Stone was trapped in the scepter, or the way I don't know. That one kind of went over my head, but oh, so then Wanda asks basically how he got there, I think, and he says, "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" And he gave like a quick rundown. I didn't get it written down, but he gives like the character beats an actor would have been provided playing the role of Pietro. And the last thing he says, I think, is like facing your grief or dealing with grief, and it's clearly showing that Wanda's working her way through this problem. Um, then let me see. So he says, "I was shot in the street. Then I heard you yelling my name, and I came because you needed my help." My first thought was, because I'm so stuck on this multiverse thinking, so did she call Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, which caused him to be killed in that universe, and then he crossed over? Or did he die previously? And like the difference in time felt like nothing from Quicksilver's death in the X-Men series to now. Kind of like the snap victims. This time difference was different. And then I realized, like, no, it's Aaron. It's this is the real Quicksilver. I really think they might just say it's recast. I think it might just be that. Like, they really played this up that this is really just Quicksilver. And they played it off as if Wanda can't handle the grief of seeing Aaron Taylor Johnson, the real Quicksilver, so she cast Evan Peters. Which makes me lean into even more, because I don't think. This still leads to the multiverse, but I don't think Quicksilver's a part of it. I hope he is, but this really feels like he's Mephisto. Or something else. Or just a fabric of this reality. I don't know. Something really weird is going on there, and I don't know what it is. So then they find out that well, the first kid gets their powers. Tommy has speed now. It seems like he just inherited Quicksilver's abilities directly. Cool. Okay, that's fine. Then we cut to Monica, Jimmy Woo, and Darcy, who are doing science things and looking at computers. And let me see. They find out Hayward can look through the hex now because he's tracking people. And when Darcy types in the email, you see like 3 names drop down. I wrote those names down. They were James D. Gadd, James Alexander, and James Seckler. I couldn't find anything on any of those names in Marvel comic history, so I guess it's nothing, but I figured I'd check. um, then Monica confirms that her person will be there in an hour with her vehicle. So next episode we find out who her friend is. And I am curious because I'm pretty sure she uses the pronoun he. He'll be coming in an hour. But it felt, I don't know, because I had heard that, like, the way the description from the last episode happened hinted that her partner she was talking about was a female. But now she said he will tonight, so it's a guy. I kind of think we're getting our hopes too high. A lot of people are saying Reed Richards. People have said Shuri even. Sue Storm. A lot of people are thinking Fantastic Four. I think it's probably going to be like Hawkeye. Or it's a vehicle, maybe Eric Selvig. And then he could get involved because he finds out Darcy's in the Hex. Maybe that's who brings Monica the vehicle. But then once we find out Vision is being tracked, we follow Vision and he finds Agnes. And it gets wild. And she's like clearly disconnected. Like she's engaging with Vision, but like on an automated level, like a very cruise control kind of feel. It feels very Westworld-ish at this point. I'm getting heavy Westworld vibes from everything that's happening here. Like they're like the hosts, but if instead of being robots, they were real people forced to play the role of the host. And the way that like certain parts of town are ignored like they were in Westworld. Like I got heavy Westworld vibes this episode. And I've gotten very much Stranger Things vibes where the hex feels like the upside down. So they're pulling on a lot of inspirations here. Um, but then Agnes freaks out. She's like, you're an Avenger, you're Vision. And Vision's like, what's an Avenger? And she's like, she has a moment like, oh my god, does this mean I'm dead? And he's like, why? And now we get the context because she's like, oh my god, if you're here, you're dead. So that means, am I dead? And she starts to lose it. And she starts to like, what does she say? All is lost. No one leaves. Wanda doesn't even let us think about it. And then she just starts breaking. And Vision puts her back under. I'm really starting to think it's all Wanda. Unless Agnes is playing them. Right now, there are two candidates for who could be Mephisto. I think Hayward and Pietro. And whoever that is, I still think Agnes is working with them. She feels too connected for some reason. And where did Dottie go? No mention to Ralph this episode. Um, let's see. So earlier in the episode, we heard Wanda tell the kids not to go past Ellis Street, and now we know why, because it's where the hex ends, and Vision goes there. And we get a big teaser, and Darcy says she can't go with them because she has to crack the final firewall that Hayward has up so she can access his files, and she said something big is in there. I think it's the X-Men, if I had to guess. I think he's got files because sentient weapon observation was brought up. That's like in Sword, and Monica responded with not creation. So that makes me think they've played with creation, which creating mutants, X-Men. I think that's what Hayward's fucking with here. I think Hayward is going to be part of whatever is going to bring in the new wave of the X-Men. Because we are going to see the old X-Men in some capacity. I'd bet all my money on that. But we are going to get real MCU X-Men as well. So then we drop back into the Halloween scene, and there's like this inflatable devil thing that I was just like, oh, Mephisto. Um, and then Quicksilver and Wanda have their best exchange. Evan Peters is killing it, by the way. He killed it this episode. He was excellent. He has this moment of dropping in, like getting really serious with Wanda, where he says like, I'm impressed by you. Like, because he says like, you're limiting, he breaks the fourth wall again about the illusion, and he says something along the lines of like, limit the amount of trauma you put into the children by only having them there for the holiday episodes. So like, you can't work children a lot because you'll traumatize them too young, so only use them a little bit. And he talks about how like couples remain together and how everything Wanda's doing was really good. And she's like, you're not against it? And he says, no, I'm impressed. This is a lot from the red squiggly stuff you used to do. And he seems like he really wants to know how she did it. And he gets serious and he's like, I'm not a stranger. I'm not your husband. You can talk to me. How did you do this? And that felt like a real, that was the question you were here to ask all along moment. That's what made me, that line really made me think maybe Evan Peters is Mephisto, because he got real serious, almost like he was no longer playing Quicksilver even, and he was like, how did you do this? Like, he needed to know. Because I really don't think anybody knows what's happening. I do believe Wanda's powers are reaching a point where nobody can fathom what's occurring at any level of power. Which is why I think the big reveal at the end of the series, the Luke Skywalker cameo they're talking about, I think it's Doctor Strange. I think Strange comes in at the end because he's gonna have to, because this leads into multiverse. But let's see. She says the only thing she remembers about making it was the feeling of being completely alone and endless nothingness. And then when she looks back, Quicksilver is dead, like Vision was from episode 3, I think that was. And then she like looks back and he's good again. And what's gonna happen? Then we cut to Vision emerging, and like Sword gets there to see him, and Hayward has this weird thing like, wow, he really does want to get out. No shit, why wouldn't he? Um, and it's the scene of him being pulled back in, and then we find out Billy is a telepath. Um, he he can see what his father is going through, and he tells Wanda what he's seeing, and she's like, he says he's dying, and then Quicksilver says, "It's not like your dead husband can die twice," and she fucking yeets him out of the scene, and then breaks everything. As if expanding for the sake of like I'm gonna expand far enough to where I know Vision is safe again. Like Vision's trying to escape, so I'll just build further than him. Um, but then yeah, the hex is expanding, and they handcuffed Darcy because she revealed herself when Vision was emerging, even though they were like kicked out earlier. And they handcuff her to the truck, which leaves her there to be sucked into the hex. So Darcy is now in the hex. So they have a woman on the inside. Um, yeah, then they trapped everybody. The only people left from that entire base, I believe, are Monica, Jimmy Woo, Hayward, and two agents in the car with him. Everybody else is now in the hex. Wanda's manipulation and her body count has gone up now. And I don't know what it means. I feel like that bubble is the multiverse. That bubble is its own reality, and once it pops, like within that reality, it's like the hollow earth theory. The center of the earth is actually another inhabitable world. Like, it's a reality within a reality. That's what Westview is now. It's this bubble that is formed, right? And everything inside of it is its own unique reality that can see everything for some reason. Maybe just because of Wanda's insane power level. And by everything, I mean every layer of the multiverse. And it's like accessing points that nobody knew capable. It's like she's rewriting the limits of science. But wow. So my main thoughts, we're 22 minutes in. I don't have a ton of theories going forward. This, it really feels like it could all be Wanda, for one. Maybe there's not a bigger force at hand. Um, Evan Peters gave an excellent performance as Quicksilver and Pietro. It's just, I still don't necessarily know what's happening there. This episode really made it feel like this is not Peter Maximoff from X-Men. This is Pietro, and they literally just recast him, which I said last week I thought might have been the worst case scenario. So I'm assuming they're going to make us think that that's what they're doing until Doctor Strange shows up and is like, you're not from this. Like, Doctor Strange, I feel like will just be able to see, you're not from this universe. And he'll just identify it. And they'll be like, what? Or something like that. Like, nobody's going to know the multiverse has been ripped open until Doctor Strange shows up and explains it. Like, I feel like another character is going to cross over soon, maybe even next week. There's only 3 episodes left. I think another character is going to pop up to confuse us. Because if you noticed, we share the perspective of Sword. What was the first thing Darcy said? They recast Pietro? What am I talking about right now? They recast Pietro. Like, the Sword agents and the people in the story are experiencing WandaVision at the same rate we are, which is really interesting. And they're going to treat us the same way the Sword agents are being treated. So they just view Pietro as a recasting. So that's the only way we're going to be told it. That's the only way it's going to be rationalized for now. Then another character is going to show up that they don't know, and they'll find a way to rationalize, whether it's Tobey Maguire, whether it's Andrew Garfield, whether it's whoever, Chris Evans is Johnny Blaze, whatever it is. And they'll be confused, and then Doctor Strange will show up. And you know what? Johnny Blaze would be perfect, because then they'd be like, that's Captain America. but he's on fire. What? And then Doctor Strange shows up and is like, oh, he's Johnny Blaze from another universe that just happens to look like our Steve Rogers. So, not like I said, not a lot of answers, a lot more questions. And next week we find out the repercussions of the hex expanding. I'm really excited to see what this means. I think by the end of this episode, we may have reached the point of calling this an Avengers level threat. Does that mean they call in Strange? I said Hawkeye could maybe be the person going to Monica. I think the scope of the show, this was their slow week. Episode 5 popped huge. This was like a sustaining week. And next week, I think they start to explode again up until the final episode, which is there's only 3 more episodes. So we got 3 more, what? We got 90 more minutes of this. So I'm excited to see where we go. I'm not upset that this was a transitional week because you need these in storytelling. And this was still great because we got incredible performances. I had real fun with this episode. Let me know what you guys think down below. Did this change your theories? What did this make you feel? My predominant thoughts coming out are Hayward might be a Skrull or Mephisto. He's somebody. I think I really need to know what's going on with Evan Peters, but I think they're going to keep treating us like we don't know what's happening until the end when it's all revealed that we've been right all along. And it is the multiverse, and then we get into that guy's movie, Spider-Man 3. He's above me there. So I think we could be seeing Spider-Man in this show since Spider-Man 3 comes like it's the next multiverse property, I think. And then Doctor Strange too. So let me know down below what you guys think. Um Please share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new as we march toward 100 subscribers. I'm definitely going to start putting out more Marvel content because my video for WandaVision last week got the most views I've ever gotten on my channel. So clearly you guys like to see the Marvel stuff, and I'm happy to put it out. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next week for my review. Goose out.